Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And this morning I wanted to talk about the emotional harm that we do to ourselves. At first I was thinking about step 8, and I was thinking about how we have to include ourselves in our list of people that we need to make an amends to. Excuse me. But then as I thought more about it, I was thinking about the emotional harm that I still do to myself sometimes. And so I wanted to see what comes out of that. So step 8 was the topic this morning in my morning meeting. And step 8, for those of you who are not in sobriety, is about making a list of those people that we harmed when we were drinking. So after we make this list and we discuss it with our sponsors, then we are set free into the wild. It doesn't go like that, but to make these amends with people. So as I was thinking through my own situation, I was thinking, I feel like I haven't fully done this step 8 and 9. I feel like over the years more comes out. And that's what they say, like more will be revealed. And it is over time, it's revealed. As my perspective changes, and as I start seeing the harm that I did to myself, I start seeing the tie between the harm I did to myself and how I transferred that over to other people. So, what does harm look like? Well, I can think of the most obvious ones where I may have embarrassed somebody, or I may have been unkind to somebody. And those are more easily identified. And I saw myself easily able to talk about it with my sponsor and then go out and say I'm sorry. Those were the easy ones. So what somebody brought up this morning was, it's not about saying you're sorry. And I heard that early on. I heard that it's not about saying you're sorry. But somebody who brought that up actually expanded on their view of, it's not about just saying you're sorry. It's about making right what you have wronged. So that harm is something that I'm sorry doesn't fix. That's what I was thinking about this morning. So I feel some of the ways that I feel I harmed other people when I was drinking was neglect. And that is, when I was drinking, I was prioritizing my alcohol over other people. So I remember one specific example that I'll probably remember for the rest of my life, is that I made a promise to my mom that I was going to spend some time with her and my aunt to I can't remember at this very moment where we were going to go. I but and I suppose that doesn't matter. It was that I promised that I was going to give them a tour of like, I don't know, the town or something. I was going to take them out And I was so hungover that I canceled. And that really was rude. It was very rude. And fast forward after I got sober and I finally was able to enter this step and make my amends, I apologized again, right? I apologized the same way that I apologized when I was drinking. I canceled and said I'm sorry. Well, once I got sober and I said I'm sorry again, what is different about that from their perspective? From my perspective, I'm truly sorry and I understand what I did. Like I see the fact that it was rude. I understand it. Well, that doesn't look any different to the person that I'm saying sorry to. It it needs to be a living amends. And the way that I have tried to do that is to not break my promises and to be present, to be available. And I feel like I'm definitely more present than I ever was. I'm more available than I ever was. Unfortunately, in stroke recovery, my commitment that I was going to be present more, physically present, I haven't been able to come through on that. And that has bothered me. And I haven't really thought about I haven't really understood it, that that is something that has been bothering me. Um, I called my mom yesterday, and she might be listening. Hi, Mom. I called her yesterday and we talked for like an hour. I love it. I love when I get to call my mommy. And what what is different when I get to call my mom now is that in stroke recovery, I've been able to pick up all these different hobbies that I never had time to do before, like sewing and painting and doing crafts. And I just picked up another hobby, making jewelry, and I love it. And I think what I need to be aware of is that even though I can't physically be there, I am able to get on the phone and we get to talk about things that we enjoy, because now the things that my mom has enjoyed for so long, I get to enjoy it too. So I hope that my ability to be quote unquote present, I'm still fulfilling that. It just looks a little different now because I'm unable to physically go there. I haven't been to my mom's house in in a year and a half. She's only an hour away because I can't get in the car for that long and then actually be able to function and be enjoyable once I get there because of my head. Um, so I think that this was a good exercise for me to talk through because I feel like I've been beating myself up about this commitment that I made, that I was going to be present, this living amends that I promised myself that I was going to make to her. But yet I haven't been able to follow through on it because of my stroke. Um, I think that it's important that I'm gentle with myself. And first and foremost, I can't be joyful and share it with my mom if I'm beating myself up about something that I can't do or haven't done that I promised I would do. So I think I got myself out of a little bit of a funk that I have felt lately. I think that I am doing the best that I can, and how much I know how much my mom appreciates these conversations and us getting to enjoy the same hobbies because I hear it. I hear it in her voice. I am super excited to be able to say that I'm going out there for Thanksgiving. My husband's going to drive me out to my sister's house, and my sister now lives about 15 minutes from my mom. So I get to be in somebody else's house for Thanksgiving, and that hasn't happened for quite some time because, well, I haven't been able to be in anyone's house for any reason other than um, my mother-in-law. I get to go to her house because she only lives like 5 minutes away. But I am excited to be around family and get to ride in the car for an hour, and we're just going to see how it goes. I'm going to be very cautious and take care of myself so that I can be present while I'm there, so I can be emotionally present and physically present so I don't have to go lay down while I'm there. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm happy to share that with my people, you people. So what other ways do we harm other people? I think that when I go back to what harm I may have caused my kids, no, I never laid a hand on my kids. I never did anything abusive when I was drinking. But what I did do is I stole away experiences from them. And that may not look like harm to them because, I mean, maybe it does. I don't know. But what it looks like for me is that I stole away opportunities to either go have fun, no, I'm not going to drive you there at 9 o'clock at night. Why? Because I want to drink. I wouldn't have said that to them. I would have said, it's too late, or I would have made some other excuse. I stole away that experience from them, and there was no reason to do that other than I didn't want to drink and drive, you know? So that's another way that I felt like I harmed my kids. And then I mentioned inhibiting opportunities. I think that's another thing that I have to work on not regretting. My son was older when I got sober than my daughter. And so I was able to, when my daughter was a senior in high school, I was able to travel with her to Europe. We took one of those school sponsored trips together with a group of students to Europe. And I was sober for that. And I financially was able to do it because I had started to get control of my finances because of sobriety. I couldn't do that with my son. And it breaks my heart. I inhibited his opportunity to experience something like she got to experience. Um, how am I going to make amends for that? I try to be open to providing him opportunities, but it's more difficult now because now he's a young adult. So, with a significant other and a job, it's more difficult for me to go to Europe, especially now with my stroke. Um, I can't provide that opportunity. I don't know that I'll ever be able to. Uh, I had talked to him about, I would love to take you to Europe and it would just be me and him, or, I would love to do that. Well, now I can't travel. Like if I were to try to go to Europe, once I got there, I wouldn't be able to do anything. So it's challenging. This stroke has presented a lot of challenges to my ability to commit to some of those promises I made to myself. And that's something I'm going to work through. I am bound to righting the wrongs that happened when I was drinking. Um, and I'll figure it out. I truly don't believe that there's anyone in my close family that is holding anything against me. I could be wrong, and I'll let you know if all of a sudden somebody unloaded on me about something I did to them. But I have been working really hard to be the best human being that I can be for my family now, to be the best daughter, the best sister I can be, to be the best mom and the best wife that I can be, despite my character defects. Um, I'm not perfect, and I want to give myself that kind of grace. What this always reminds me of is the Seinfeld episode where gets, George is expecting somebody who is working their AA steps to apologize to him for something that they did to him when they were drinking. And so every time he talks to the person, he's like anticipating that they're going to apologize to him, and they never do. And it's a very humorous episode, but yet it rings so true for me. Are there things that I've done that I don't remember? I can't do anything about that unless somebody tells me. I did. There are situations where maybe you interact with somebody and that person just continues to not be 100% friendly to you. What do you do? Well, you ask them, is there a reason why I'm feeling that we're not able to connect anymore? Is like, did something happen? So confronting that situation, being self-aware, being aware of your relationships enough to confront these. I don't like to use the word confront because it has a negative connotation to me, but I will anyway, for lack of a better word, confront your relationships and identify, like, are you unable to nurture this relationship? Is there something blocking it? Try to figure out what that is. Try to give back, because there might be something that you stole away from that person and you just don't remember. So it takes a lot of bravery to confront somebody, to say, hey, can we talk for a minute, and share your truth about your role in that relationship and see if there's anything that you can do to make it better. When I was at work, there was a woman that every time we interacted in a meeting, it was very uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for everybody in the room. It was negative. And I thought that it was her. I thought it was her that was making things so uncomfortable, and her having an attitude. Well, one day I came in and got my coffee, and she came into the kitchen and she said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" And I was like, "Yeah." And my heart, like my heart started racing because I was afraid because I don't like confrontation. And what she said to me was, "I feel like whenever we talk, there is this uncomfortable feeling like that it's abrasive." And what I realized as soon as she said that was that the problem was not her, the problem was me. The problem was that I had been expecting to be treated in a certain way, and I wasn't being treated that way. I was expecting to be treated as though I knew more than I knew, which is interesting. And I expected to be treated like I was a people leader rather than an individual contributor. And there's something very wrong with that, that I thought that I deserved to be treated in a way other than being a peer. Um, and I'm willing to admit that because I have to. If I don't admit that ugly side of me, I could drink again. And so thank God she had the courage to confront me, not in a unkind way. She was so perfect. The way she showed me how you do it. She showed me how you write a relationship. And I will forever be grateful for that lesson. I was thinking yesterday and today, I want to reach out to her and thank her again for doing that for me because it was a lifelong lesson that she taught me and she didn't know she was doing it. So that's how it's done. Um, I think something that's been standing out to me today, this morning, because it's still early in the morning, is how when I was a kid, I thought everyone in the world cared about each other. I mentioned it the other day. I thought that everybody cared about me as much as I care about them. And what I learned growing up is that they don't. That's really unfortunate. But I learned that when I like somebody, they may not like me back. Um, I learned that when I fall down, it's somebody's not always going to pick me up. I learned that people can be mean. People aren't going to be nice all the time. And it was like, I said it the other day when I was talking about the world broke me. That's what I felt like. I felt like the world taught me how to not be a good human being. And it's not the world's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just how my invisible illnesses, along with my experiences, taught me how to live in a way that I needed to protect myself. What I'm so grateful for today is that my sobriety fellowship is what I thought the world was supposed to be. Like when I go into these meetings and we share with each other, I know that other people in the meeting want me to succeed in my life the same way that I want them to succeed in their life because their lives, because we have different experiences, but we have the same disease, and we're able to connect on the level of that disease. And we get to share, like, this is how I did it. And then they say, well, this is how I did it. And we all just take notes. I mean, I literally take notes. And then I get to come here and and talk about even further some of that stuff because I want to share more than just sharing in the meetings. I want to share my experience publicly so that somebody who's searching for answers, I don't know how other people do it. I wish I would have been able to find something like this where somebody shared how they do it. How do you deal with somebody when you're angry without drinking? I didn't know how to do that. And nobody ever taught me how to do it. I just figured it out myself. So, and that was not allowing me to grow. The way that I decided to do it was stunting my growth. So because of my fellowship, I got to re-instill that idea that people do care about one another and people do want each other to succeed. As I went through life drinking, and just drinking away any of those negative feelings that were feelings that it was important for me to process in order to grow. But instead of processing them, I drank. Um, as I went through that more and more, I started to look at everyone like they're out to get me, like nobody in the world was nice. Nobody in the world cared about me the way that I care about myself, or that I care about myself or care about others. Um, And that wasn't true. It was because I kept drinking. Once I saw that the drinking worked, then I just kept drinking no matter who I was talking to. And I painted this picture of the world where everybody was out to get me. Nobody cared about me. And that made me sink into a pit of self-pity. And I was telling myself these false stories because I got comfortable in that pit. I got comfortable just assuming the world was a certain way, not the way that I thought it was when I grew up, but quite the opposite. And I just drank over it and figured it's never going to change. Like, I have found the solution for my life to be able to deal with people. Once I was able to take the drink away and work through my steps with my sponsor and go to meetings and share about my experience, my my perception of the world began to change. In fact, I became vulnerable again in front of people. It took time, but I became unafraid to be the first one who gets vulnerable. I became unafraid to tell my staff in my marketing department and training department, I'm a recovering alcoholic. And I'm telling you that because I want you to know that I'm a human being. And if you have any human being issues, I want you to know that you can talk to me because I know what it's like to be a human being. And that's what I'm trying to do here as well. I'm taking the first step to be vulnerable in front of you because I want you to know that I'm a human being and I'm a broken human being. I'm somebody who has gone as far down as I think I could possibly go before I actually, it wasn't before. I got so down that I was emotional. I was physically harming myself, I was drinking myself to death. I was taking pills, not the way that they were prescribed. And I want you to know that, because if you need to share something with me, I get it. I understand. And I may not have the solution, but I can tell you how I did it. You know, um, again, over the years in sobriety, more continues to be revealed. I can still emotionally harm myself if I don't stay in the center of my program, in the center of the steps, practicing them in all of my affairs, and in the center of my fellowship, reaching out to people. This is where the following steps after 8 and 9 help me, steps 10 through 12. They keep me coming back every day and practicing the program and thinking, where might I have been afraid yesterday or today, earlier today? Where did I maybe harm another person emotionally? Where did I harm myself? Let me look at that and address it tonight so that when I wake up in the morning, I'm still positioned in the same place where everybody in my life, we care about each other. Um, I did things throughout my drinking life that I'm ashamed of, and I had to look at it. I had to look at it, and in the places that I needed to not just apologize, but make a living amends and try to right what I did wrong. I could do that. There are places that it was not healthy for me to reach out to the person that I harmed, because either for any reason, it's if I'm going to do more harm by reaching out, then I need to not do it, and I need to make the amends to me, to myself. And that brings me full circle to this idea that I need to be gentle with myself. This step 8 is not about beating myself up. It's about being a better human being, figuring out, how can I be kinder to myself? How can I change those stories in my head to have happy endings? And it's a much more joyful and serene place to live in my life. And part of my commitment to myself is to try to share that positive living with other people, because it spreads. If I am always sharing about how miserable I am, I'm spreading misery. It may not see, you may not see it, but you're spreading misery, So I like to I like to spread positive living. And the only way I know how is to talk about the hard stuff and share how I do it. That's all I can do. And it feels good. Like, I know I'm doing the next right thing because it feels good when I do it. So thanks for listening today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.